think kind of a peaceful here. Shabbat Shalom, good evening, everybody, and welcome as you tuned in virtually for our Erev Shabbat services. Good to have you all back. And we are beginning this week, the Torah cycle completely over. This week is Shabbat Bereshit, so all the way back to the very beginning. And as you start over this new cycle of the year. Yes?
We'll try that one more time.
Here we go. Shabbat Shalom, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our virtual Shabbat services here at Temple Beth. It's good to see you all again, and we are having a special Shabbat this week because we're starting the Torah cycle completely over. This is Shabbat Bereshit, so all the way back to the very beginning. Looking forward to one more round on the Torah cycle together. And how good it is that we're all together here, and that's also what Cantor is going to kick us off with. Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shabbat achim gam yachad. How good and pleasant that is, brothers and sisters, to dwell together. It's on page 10 if you want to follow along.
And even though we're not together in this sanctuary, we are together and we're continuing Shabbat. So join with us as we sing together. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad.
And for the blessing over the candles for the night, I'd like to invite up Jordan and Judy Harris. We're celebrating a very special Shabbat today. More about that later. And they're going to be zooming in virtually with us. So in a moment. This is on page 3 and 2 of the Siddur.
As the Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, our lives, give light to all who behold us. As our brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel, who are kingdom waters, so may we, now all day,
Jordan, Judy, just checking in.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, mitzvotanu v'ahavnu v'esel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvah, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
The readings.
Yeah.
All right, Yasher Koach. Thank you
Yasher
so
Koach.
much.
Shabbat Shalom to both of you.
Shabbat Shalom.
And we continue celebrating Shabbat with Maya Hayom. Again, on page 10, you can find the text, the second paragraph from the top. How lovely today is, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Ma Yafe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
While we're on the welcome wagon, we continue with Lecha Dodi on page 20 and 21 as we welcome the Shabbat bride. And we're going to be doing stanzas 1, 2, 5, and 9. And once we reach the last one, you want to rise and face wherever the entry door of your home space is as you welcome the Shabbat bride.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Shabor v'zachor v'dikor echad, Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'niti la 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 la, Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor ha'verata, Merosh mikedem nitzucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshavati, La 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 la, Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Hit'oreri, Ki ba'orei komi ori, Ori shir daveri, Kevod Adonai alayich nigla la la lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam v'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emonei yam segula, Boi chala, Boi chala. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, V'nei penei Shabbat nekabela.
All right. And with this, we turn to the Chatzi Kaddish on page 26.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, V'yamad yivrach kinutei v'yamlich malchutei, V'chayechon v'yom echon, U'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, Bagala, bagala, ובזמן קריב ואמרו
Amen.
יש מרבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשם ריחו לעילה מן כה בחטא ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ועלמה ואמרו
Amen. And on page 28, we rise for the Baruch Hu, face wherever is east in from your direction.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. לעולם ועד.
Page 30, together in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv v'aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב
Aravim. And we continue with Ahavat Olam leading us into Shema. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu lemadeta, al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shokveinu, u'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. יהי חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, Shema Yisrael Adonai
Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please have a seat.
Yes, thank you. We continue with V'ahavta on the next page.
Yeah, and please have a seat if you're not seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibartam b'shivtecha b'beitecha, u'v'lechtecha b'derech, u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, u'chetavtam המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
And page 39 on the top. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, the promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
We join together in Miriam's song. First, we hold our place on page 40 and turn to page 342. Page 342. Let us celebrate this freedom. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances towards the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced the whole night long. As Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the seas, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. Mikamo Hava Elim Adonai, Mikamo Kanen Armakodesh, Noratehi lo no sepele, Noratehi lo no sepele. Maneko dekara o maneka, Bokea yam lifnei Moshe o Miriam. Zelianu ve'amro, Zelianu ve'amro, Adonai imloch le'olam ha'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam ha'ed. Yalalai. Yai lai lai ya lai la 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 lai yai lai lai ya lai la 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 lai lai ya lai la lai lai ya la 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 lai yai la lai lai ya la lai lai lai. V'nemar ki fad Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Amen. For creative take on the Hashkivenu, let us lie down in peace prayer. Turn to page 43 on the top, Let There Be Love.
And you're also going to see it online, we hope, and it's there. It sounds like already. How wonderful. So please join with us. The text is slightly different on the top of the page versus what's on the screen. So join with us. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu leShalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ve'hamidenu, shomreinu lechaim, ufros aleinu, sukkot shlomecha, hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, hashkivenu leShalom, hashkivenu השכיבנו לשלום. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. On page 44, we celebrate Shabbat with Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
And with this, we turn to the Tefillah or Amidah, the standing prayer, which begins on page 46. Please rise as you're able and face east from your direction one more time. And reminder, we are back to the rain coming down, so Mashiva Ruach Umorit Hagashem in the second prayer, the Gvorot.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanorav, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chazdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Geola Livnei Bneihem, Lemad Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRoach, Umorid HaGashem, Bechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Bechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim, Verofei Cholim, O Matir Asurim, O Mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Givurot, O Midom Elach, Melech Memit, O Mechayeh, O Matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata le'achayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please have a seat. Page 55 on the top. Together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who are hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 56 for Ritzei. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ve'amcha Yisrael, tfilatam be'ahava tekabel beratzon, u'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, el karov lechol koav, pnei el avadecha v'chonenu, shpoch ruchacha aleinu, v'techezena einenu, b'shuvcha leTzion v'rachamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Amachazir Shechinato leTzion. And for Modim on page 58, take a moment. This is our prayer of thanksgiving. Think about what you are grateful for at this moment in time for this week. And if you want to, feel free to share it in the chat with the rest of us, and come back in a moment after you had a chance to.
Rabbi, what are you thankful for this week?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful that we had such a wonderful high holiday season that's up there. And I have a feeling now coming up with the next 2 weeks and stuff, Cantor, you have something else that you're going to be grateful for?
Yes, I'm grateful to have a little time off and to sort of re-energize as we move on to religious school starting and adult ed and all these wonderful things in our community.
All right, so have a wonderful vacation then for a time off. This has been a long time, right?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay, and for all these things that we are giving thanks on the bottom of the page, the Chatima together.
Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulchana el lehodot.
Page 60, Shalom Rav, for prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל, בשלום. Take a moment of silence now for the prayers of our heart. I'll come back on page 62 in a moment.
עושה שלום ממרומיו, יהיו לרצון עם רעבים, והגיונים לפניך. Adonai tzori v'goali, ose shalom mimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, ve'imru, amen. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you. O God, my rock and my Redeemer.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. The battle of the sexes seems to be as old as time. When you browse your local bookstore, you can find dozens of self-help books on the topic, reaching from titles such Mars and Venus Together Forever, Relationship Skills for Lasting Love, or Why Mars and Venus Collide, Improving Your Relationship, to some more pragmatically named books as Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps. The differences between the sexes have also become a staple in many stand-up comedy routines these days. German comedian Jürgen von der Lippe even makes a conscious effort to address several of these topics in each of his routines. Women always talk. Why? Because they can. Women think using both sides of their brains. Men use only one side, at best. Another German comedian, Gabi Köster, addresses the different ideas of hygiene in men and women. Men must be the only species I know to separate their laundry into two piles, into dirty and into dirty, but still okay, to be worn like fresh the next day. I'm sure we've all come across books or shows like these, but where does it all come from ultimately? What is the origin and cause of all these differences? In this week's Torah portion, Bereshit, we read about the very first human couple in history, Adam and Eve. In chapter 2 of the book of Genesis, we read how God creates Adam from the dust of the earth, breathes life into him, and places him into the Garden of Eden. But everything is not perfect yet. Even God notices that. Lo tov heyot ha'adam levado. It is not good for man to be alone. So God decides to provide Adam with a partner like himself, Eve. I'm sure you've all heard the prevalent version of the story, how God takes one of the spare ribs of Adam and then constructs the woman from it. Unfortunately, this version has also been used for centuries to justify the different status of men and women, putting the woman into the inferior position compared to the man who was created before her. In the Western world, it was not until the 1960s when the feminist movement started to reevaluate Genesis. Feminist slogan, very famous from that time, was, "When God created man, she was only practicing." But it was already much earlier that this common interpretation of the creation story was reassessed. The ancient rabbis were very meticulous when it came to interpreting the biblical text. They would analyze every little bit, yud and tittle, to get the most meaning out of it. And so they also noticed that the term commonly translated as rib, which is tsela in the original Hebrew, actually has a general overarching meaning, which is side. So God did not only take a rib from Adam, but he took a complete side of him, which would turn and become Eve. They described the process in Midrash Bereshit Rabbah. Rabbi Jeremiah ben Lazar taught, Adam was made up of two different bodies joined together. And Rabbi Shmuel ben Nachman said, the Holy One created Adam double-faced, connected, but back to back. Only afterwards did God split Adam into two separate beings. New scientific insights from last century also seem to corroborate this take on the creation story. Embryonic studies have shown that fetuses do not start off sexually differentiated either. They either have the potential to turn into a boy or girl. It is only about 2 months into the pregnancy that the fetus starts to develop into either a male or a female, depending on which sex hormones kick in, the male testosterone or the female estrogen. So far, so good. But it still leaves us with the question, how come men and women have been treated that differently throughout all these centuries? Even in our day, distinctions between the sexes still exist, for example, in matters of social status and wages. But the principles of human biology, they have been pretty much consistent throughout human history. So the cause really seems to lie in the way we are being socialized, as well as the social roles that are ascribed to both men and women. This different treatment of men and women already begins when somebody is still an infant. Scientists did some experiments in which they dressed up a baby in either pink or blue onesie, and people who did not know the baby's sex were treated quite differently depending on the color it wore. If people assumed it to be a girl, they would treat her gently, compliment how cute she was. But if they assumed the baby to be a boy, they would treat that little rascal a lot rougher. So, what can we take away from all this? We all know there are differences between men and women, both physically and psychologically. Otherwise, the authors of all those Mars and Venus books would be out of work. But even so, our tradition has some greater values to teach us here. Despite all these differences, we go back to one common source. A quote from Talmud Sanhedrin, made famous through the movie Schindler's List. For that reason, man was created alone, to teach us whoever destroys a single soul, he is as if he had destroyed a whole world. And whoever preserves a single soul, he is as if he had preserved a whole world. It is also to teach us that man was created alone for the sake of peace between humans, so that no one can say, my parent was greater than yours. May we all have the insight in our lives to see other people for who they really are, our partners in creation. Shabbat Shalom. I mentioned already earlier at the beginning, we have a special celebration that we're gonna mark today, and that is for Jordan Harris, who is celebrating his 75th birthday on this Shabbat. So first of all, a big mazel tov, and congratulations on this reaching this milestone birthday. For those who don't know, Jordan is the head of our ritual committee, has been very active and doing a lot of work in preparing, especially for the high holidays, making sure everything comes together. There was a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls that were happening there. So Jordan, thanks so much for everything it is that you do here for the temple. We appreciate your support. And lately, he's also been promoted to the TTT, to the Temple Tep team. So he has a lot going on, and we're very grateful for his involvement in this community. And in this occasion, Kent and I would like to bestow a special blessing on you in this moment, the priestly blessing on this special milestone birthday for you. Everybody, if you could rise for a moment, please.
I'll ask you to bow your head a little bit, Jordan, as we offer this blessing to you.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'ychoneka.
May God show God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha
May God turn God's face towards you and grant you the biggest gift of all, the gift of shalom, of peace. And we all
Amen. Amen. And we join together. Simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, Yehelanu, 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 Yisrael, Yelanu, Yelanu,
Bye-bye.
Olecho Yisrael, Yelanu, Yelanu, Olecho Yisrael, Yelanu, Yelanu, Olecho Yisrael.
Mazel tov from
Mazel
Hall one more
tov.
time. Hat mir Abbas
Thank you.
up to 120.
And I will see you soon, because he's also taking my Haftarah cantillation class, so I'm very much looking forward to it. See you soon.
Right. And speaking of happy news, we have announcements coming up. And for this, I'd like to invite Maddie Pimentel-Diaz.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to all who've joined us this evening for our virtual Erev Shabbat service from the sanctuary, as well as the home of our various congregants. Thanks to Aaron Peterson and Catherine Ellis for handling the service production and broadcast. If you are interested in helping with this and want to ensure that we can continue to stream live services as well as running sound in the sanctuary, contact Aaron Peterson or Jordan Harris to join the Temple Tech team. We have a number of opportunities to gather, learn, and celebrate in the coming days and weeks. Friday services will continue to be made available on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on the Temple Beth website. Details on how to find the live services can be found on the live streaming webpage. Note that all Friday services are now back to the normal start of 7:30, except for last Friday of the month, which will be at 6. Saturday morning services are on Zoom. The Zoom link is found in the weekly Shabbat Shalom email. Tomorrow, we have Torah study at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Shabbat morning service is at 10 a.m. on Zoom. Zoom Havdalah will be tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Beit Sefer, our religious school, kicks off celebration will be this Sunday, October 3rd, at Franklin Park in Tacoma. I'll be there. We hope to see all of our religious school families. And remember, kids, bring an empty book bag and dress warmly. We're going to have a blast. The Jewish Book Club will meet this Tuesday at 11:30, either in person or on Zoom. If you choose to attend in person, don't forget that you'll be required to wear a mask while in the building. And after much consideration for the safety of all in our community, we have begun discussion to change our service and attendance protocols before we return in person to services and in the sanctuary. Discussions on updated COVID protocols between clergy, the board, and resuming operations task force are continuing. We hope to have this place within the next few weeks. Because new protocols have not been updated and established, we will be returning to virtual services for Friday nights for the time being. As always, you can view services on Facebook, YouTube, and the TBE website. You can interact and comment on both Facebook and YouTube, and we hope that you do. The Judaica shop will be open Fridays from 10:30 to noon and by appointment. The schedule for all fall adult education classes has been set and registration is open. To see the full listing of classes and to register, visit the Temple Beth website or September bulletin. Some classes will be in person, but may remain virtual, making attendance that much easier. Many of these classes begin next week. As always, if you need help or are willing to help those in need, please contact Temple Bethel clergy, staff, or leadership. I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Shalom. Thanks, Maddie.
Take a moment now in the midst of our Shabbat rest to think of those in need of healing, body, mind, and soul. And take a moment to think who those people are. If you also want to share their name in the chat, feel free to do so. Otherwise, mention the names out loud or in your hearts.
Israel Friedman. They're struggling with COVID.
For all we're about to recite the Misheberach, our plea to God for healing, and find in your book on page 253 in the middle. Please join together.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor bracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
This we turn to the concluding prayers of our service, the Aleinu, you can find on page 282. Please rise one more time, facing east where you are, and we're going to be jumping to page 287 from there.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עוונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please have a seat. Now take a moment to think of those who are no longer with us. Remember this week, first of all, those who are in Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days of mourning. If there's anybody who's in that period, please rise at this moment. Also, if you want to share the names of anybody who is in that period, please feel free to use the chat. And to you, we extend the traditional words of consolation. Hamakom yinachem etchem, b'toch she'ar avalei Zion v'Yerushalayim. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. And also, I'd like to invite those who are commemorating a yahrzeit on this Shabbat to please rise at this moment. From our community, we mark the yahrzeits of the following: Arthur Baker, William Barnes, Stanley Block, Philip Brodsky, Marion Broadman, Fanny Broadman, Nelly Del Valle, Yakov Golovchime, Stefan Goldston, Robert Grayson, Margaret Harrison, Anna Hornstein, Israel Kleiner, Liebe Kleiner, Solomon Kleinman, Michael Lehrer, Harold Lieberman, Bernice Lipnick, Elise Lyon, Henry Mandels, Abraham Martin, Keegan Mucky, Mildred Nagel, Sarah Newman, Emilia Notrika, Lev Riven, Emmanuel Rosenblatt, Gladys Sachs, Willard C., Tilly Seitz, David Schaefer, Sid Shapiro, Nathan Sobel, Gordon Umberhocker, Ernst Wynn, Arthur Jacob Zweibel. Is anybody else whose name was not mentioned? Please feel free to add the names in the chat. For all of them together, about to recite the Monas Kaddish on page 294. Everybody, please rise one more time. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabba be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchotei b'chayechon uvyom echon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. זיכרונם לברכה, may the memory be a blessing. Please have a seat. And before we close, we had some thank yous. Once more, big mazel tov to Jordan, to Harris. Also, thank you for lighting the Shabbat candles earlier. And to Aaron and to Kat for making tech run tonight. To Debbie, of course, for beautiful accompaniment tonight again. Thanks so much. And our security, Sean Bethel, everybody else who made sure we make Shabbat happen week after week. And of course, for you all at home for tuning in and being together here as a community virtually. And yeah, before we close, we have one more closing song. And Cantor, what are you going to be leading us?
We're going to conclude with an Oseh Shalom on page 343, a rather rabble-rouser kind of piece. And I hope that you'll join with us. And then we'll have Kiddush and Motzi. And I just want to say on this October 1st, this new month, as we celebrate, even though we're not here, I just marvel at this gift of being able to celebrate Shabbat every week with everyone. And so join with us. Stand if you want, clap if you want, stomp if you want, dance if you want. Join with us. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Let me hear you do it. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol
All right. Shabbat shalom, folks.
Shabbat shalom. We join together for Kiddush and Motzi. Kiddush is on page 5 and Motzi on page 302, I believe.
I think by now we all know.
We
what
know it. Well, yes, maybe, hopefully, but we want to make sure that everybody sings it with us. Join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kinishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom tehila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shavat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-shabbat lechaim. We join together with our challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avot.